The important thing to remember when you're creating the memory scan project is that when you design these two panels, you're not trying to recreate the memory or even have the objects from the memory or create a landscape or a photograph. Instead, what you're doing is you're creating two designs, two compositions that will be photographed and laid out together that really trigger that memory, that you will create something that hopefully will have a visceral response, a sort of personal iconography that you can see, not really any kind of narrative, but a more abstract feeling based on that memory. So each student that makes these, it's a very personal set of objects, and the composition will support that. This student, like, I don't really remember all of the memories, and sometimes students even decided to keep it a secret. And that's, excuse me, that's perfectly legitimate. And I know this student had a memory of his parents' home where it was very warm, and he had a memory of drinking tea there. Um, this one looks painful. I don't know what the memory was. And I thought this one was so amazing. On the left, it's just sandpaper laid out at different levels. And I thought this one was visually amazing. And I really don't know what the original memory was. The next one's a little bit graphic. This one was about being vegetarian. She actually went to the store and bought chicken feet. This one looks really simple, but if you look at the left-hand corner, those are teeth surrounded by sand, and so there seems to be, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but it's a very interesting kind of echoing of the composition. This one has a lot more of a maximal kind of amount of objects. And as we look at these, you should look at the compositional elements too. So in other words, on the left, we have a very active full frame. And then on the right, it's kind of a frame within a frame within a frame. So you see that people use the edges of photos. I think this is about sitting in a movie theater chair for too long. This one was that visceral memory of burning, the smell of burning tortillas when you just throw them on the burner. This one was a memory about making a meal. And as you start to think about the objects that you would put in this scan, this one was about paintballing. And I guess, I don't really know because I've never gone, but I guess you can choose a scent. And so this was bananas. This is actually two different pictures put together. So that takes a lot of planning. It was about baking cookies. This one was about tamales at Christmas. I don't know what this, I love how this one looks. And they really did go out and get those little fish. And I think on the right are skateboard wheels. This one's super subtle. I don't know if you could see the camera lens at the top. There's a lot of, this one's really beautiful actually. This one was a memory of her dad playing a record of mariachi music with a pastry on Sunday mornings. This one was about kneeling on the ground playing Monopoly and sort of the pain in her knees. This is only a single panel, but I love it. These are just those kind of pencils you get in second grade. You can almost smell the smell of the pencils. I don't know what this memory is, but there's a really nice connection in the color palette. And so one thing to really think about is you'll notice on the assignment sheet, there's some compositional considerations. How do you handle the edge? Do you not pile everything in the middle? What is the tension between the two panels? How do you lay out the panels? This one has a really nice subtlety of the center has a speaker, but then on the right-hand side, it's a music box kind of device. So a little bit of old and new. I think this one was about a first haircut. This one was about being left out. I don't know what this one was, but you see this chafy uniform, but she went to Home Depot and got some panels, like it's not on the floor. And so she got floor panels and then crinkled paper. And so this brings up a point of how important the background is. Don't just use anything, like the background becomes a large part of the concept. This one is so strange. You hear my cat in the background? The composition to this one is great, and the juxtaposition creates an amazing tension. I think this one was about Coachella. And now I'm going to show you what not to do. See how that says bad scrapbooks? So even though as we look through these, you'll see they don't look that bad, but really what happens is if you do a scrapbook, and it's real easy when you say memory, immediately you might think make a scrapbook. And so a couple of mistakes. One is just making both panels exactly the same. But two is to get that kind of scrapbook feeling, it's too familiar. If you're good at scrapbooking, you're going to have to fight this. It's not about the mementos from the memory. And that's what's happening here. That's what a scrapbook is. It's about the visceral triggers of that memory. And so as I go through these ones that I consider the bad ones, you'll see that there's also no sense of composition. There's no breathing space. Everything's just piled in there. Again, these are just trophies, similar panels. So they didn't take advantage of the two panels. Definitely scrapbook. And so I think you get the sense of, notice when you look at these, they kind of look more the same. Where if we go back to the other ones, you get the sense of them, because they're so strong in their visceral icons, triggers, whatever you want to call them, you start to get a very different look to each one because they're so personal. Anyway, that's a tour through the student work of the Memory Scan project.